Welcome back to another episode of Sleepy Hollow, the missing episodes. Last time, Team Witness without Ichabod has actually traversed through the abominable desert, and quite frankly, they don't really have enough time to save Ichabod's soul, who is actually, according to Lucifer, he is actually going to be like an apprentice to him soon. And they just dealt with Jobe, known as the Prince of Pain, and so they actually have 2 more rings of hell to traverse through. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the show, shall we? Alright, Chapter 20, Fraud. I'm gonna be honest here, guys. This was undoubtedly the hardest segment I had to make. Some of you might be expecting the significant demons like Hagnazu, Calcabrina, Rubicante, which aren't Final Fantasy IV, it's from Dante's Inferno. But since the fic was so complicated as it was just too hard to work with. So this one was like a leech just waiting to get done. I hope you'll like what I got for the complicated realm known as the Malbolge. Team Witness soon descended the staircase beneath the desert of the final violence ring. As they trekked lower and lower, the descent became more opaque. The stormy sky didn't help much either. Luckily, the backs of their hands shined. Laura gave a warning to the group. Fraud is an extremely dark place that holds those guilty of deliberate knowing evil who use lies and deception for personal gain. This circle is divided into 10 ditches, each holding different types of liars, and each has a different form of punishment. I suggest we all use our virtues to keep ourselves lit. This circle could leave wanderers blind. No problem, Gavin said as he, along with the others, uncovered the backs of the right hands, showing their holy might, although they noticed one of the 7 fading out. Prudence, the one at the lower left, was growing dimmer and weaker. Oh no! Oh no! Prudence is at its last legs! Crane! We can't worry about that now, Jenny. Let's get this over with and head to the last ring. We'd best hurry. This place is extremely long, and one of the most dangerous. Use extreme caution. Suddenly the 6 startled as they beheld a very massive, unusual creature fly out of the shadowed chasm. Gavin immediately held the demon slayer's scabbard, but Laura ordered to sheathe it. Because of Lucifer's cryptic message about Ichabod's soul, anything that they'd meet would give them the jitters. Calm yourselves, it's only Geryon. Geryon. The god and the beast of fraud. She described him as an enormous creature with dragon wings, paws of a lion, a body of a wyvern, possessing a tail with a stinger much like a scorpion's, and also has the face of an honest man. The very same. Come on, we should ride him. He'll help us go through the 8th circle. They were reluctant, but then again they had no choice. One by one they boarded his back, with Jenny and Laura leading the pack. The hybrid let out a groan as it opened its wings and lifted off. Geryon slowly glided in descending rotations around the waterfall of the river Phlegethon, down to the great depths to the circle of fraud. Laura referred to another passage from the sacred poet Virgil. Fraud, in its own right, is wasteful to life itself. It is more serious than the other previous sins due to the sinner's assumption of being able to corrupt and manipulate God's creations for evil gain. Kind of like Zeromus from Final Fantasy IV, only its people we're dealing with instead of an alien. Gavin made another semi-relevant reference. The 8th circle, or rather called the Malbolge, refers to the evil ditches, the upper half of hell belonging to the fraudulent and malicious. This is forged like a large funnel of stone shaped as an amphitheater, which runs a series of 10 deep narrow ditches called bulge, or bulgion singular. Within these ditches are punished those guilty of fraud. Geryon eventually landed on the cliff, which nearly burnt their feet. It then flew off and they took sight of the first chamber. They emerged below the great cliff. We must reach the well below. It's the only way to traverse to treachery. There were large spurs of rock shaped like narrow slippery umbrella ribs which served as bridges over the fiery pits of the 10 bulls. The first one they encountered were for the panderers and the seducers, as Jenny said. The panderers and seducers will spend eternity beaten, prodded, and whipped by Lucifer's lieutenants. Sure enough, the team stopped and held their breaths. The damned made 2 queues, one along either bank of the ditch, and marched rapidly, some slipping in opposite directions while being whipped by horn demons for eternity. Laura described them as they had deliberately exploited the passions of others, and so drove them to serve their own interests, or themselves driven and scourged. The first individual Gavin recognized as he clenched his fists tightly was a petite girl in her early 20s. This is actually based on the original character Lynn Hawkeye, which actually is related to Mary Joy G38. She's known as a Filipino and a plagiarist on DeviantArt, and a very revolting one at that. She's a character basher and she often uses sexual content to satisfy her as well as her horrid followers. Mary Joy G38, aka Mary Joy, is on here, and it's based on her revoltingness alone. Fuck you, Mary. You deserve this. Further down on the other bank, Jenny, Jake, and Alex recognized 2 female tramps. I think they're sisters, but I'm not a huge fan of Beavis and Butthead, but they deserve this. All this time we were enchanted by a wig? Alex told him to shush. There's the other whore. It's Lolita and Tanqueray. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but yeah, those are the ones. Who the hell are they? They were residents from a town named Highland, and they were known as their own skanks who were mostly renowned for their sexy reputation and also pleasuring the 2 lowlifes morons named Beavis and Butthead. They used their southern accents and powers of lust to manipulate them. Then again, they're just pieces of manure anyways. Jeez, they deserve the worst. I really hate whores. Women should never be treated as objects this way, selling their souls for money and be like femme fatales. Especially homme fatales. I really thought they'd be in lust. Those are different. It's more than just taking pleasure in flesh, but rather influence others in their control afterward, much like succubus. If you put them side by side to the other shitheads, they could resemble brother and sister. Those that commit incest are there too. Ugh, we gotta get out of here. Next chamber, please. Everyone obliged, avoiding the sights of the seducers being caned and having pieces of flesh fly. What? Jason of the Argonauts is here? Why? He's a hero. Gavin, he's only here because of his cheating ways. Even I was shocked. Jason from the miniseries Jason and the Argonauts, which was made in the 80s, which used to be on Sci-Fi a lot. God, even he deserves the worst. She described him as such, and you can pause here if you want, but even I was shocked. I really thought he was a hero too until I found out. Yeesh! I didn't know he had multiple affairs. Man! A lot of common folk don't know the whole story. Don't be too disappointed in yourself. He steadily marched downward to the next chamber that housed the Flatters. Laura recited, My brethren in the Malbolge, we flounder in sewage and waste. Much like the sinners in the first row, they also exploited other people, this time abusing and corrupting their psyches to play upon others' desires and fears. As a result, they are steeped in excrement which, according to Laura, was representative of the false flatteries they told on Earth, as they howl and fight amongst themselves. And Diana recognized one of them as Sam Rockstein, especially his partner in crime, Nikki Santoros. I'm sure you know what the parody names stand for, But damn! Actually, scratch that. No, Nicky isn't on here. He's not till later. Scratch that, sorry. Ugh, it's easy to get them mixed up, you know? But yeah, Sam is on here. And Diana also... Oh, wait, he is on here. Oh, my bad. He's also on here too, his sidekick. And lastly was one of the most nihilistic psychopaths that ever existed. Reader discretion is advised, but believe it or not, Ted Bundy is on here too. You could actually pause here if you want. Maybe I should have put him somewhere else for obvious reasons, but I don't want to go through this. It'll take too long, and it's disturbing. So you can pause here if you want. And you can pause here if you want. It's very long. Everyone was aghast of what the head of Homeland Security said. Who else is there? There's plenty more where that came from. Come on. Laura led the way to the third row where the simonies were found. Simony. The sellers of favors, crimes against the church. They are trapped in baptismal baths, their feet eternally in flames. From the side of it, the sinners were placed face down in cylinder holes within the rock, with flames burning the soles of their feet. Head of the fires proportioned to their guilt, much like the death of excrement for the flatters. Since there was no one the teams recognized, they pressed onward toward the fourth row. The diviners, the fortune tellers should have known that they cannot see with the eyes of God. They walk with their heads backwards, their eyes awash in tears. In other words, Dante believed that oracles and psychics are phonies. Who could blame him? Much like the oracle in the Matrix. Besides, why would you try to predict the future anyway? Anything can change as quickly as clouds in the wind. I'm surprised the oracle never made her way here, and she should. And yeah, not just the oracle, but any type of psychic. Especially Olympia from Pokemon. Ugh. That was when I threw in the towel with the Kalos anime. Really bad. I don't mind Molly becoming one, though. She would be useful. If not for Dreyfus's reign. Anyway, they pressed on to the fifth Volgia, the home to the grafters. Great winged demons tend to the grafters who stole and embezzled in life. They are thrown into deep vile pits. Such damned souls even include corrupt politicians who made money by trafficking, and they're immersed in a lake of boiling tar, black as their internal selves, which represents the sticky fingers and dark secrets of their corrupt deals. Yes, they are guarded by demons called the Malabranch, known as evil claws, who tear them to shreds with sharp claws and grappling hooks if they catch them above the surface. And guess who is on here? Bill Hawks. Bill Hawks from The Unwound Future, Professor Layton. I'm not really into the series, but I find it interesting. But yeah, he is on here. You can pause here if you want. Anyway, the sextet marched onward toward the sixth area occupied by the hypocrites. Oh, this shouldn't be too hard to figure it out. It is here that the cloaks of the hypocrites appear noble and fair, and yet worn as punishment, each lined with crippling lead. They saw the hypocrites walk around a narrow track for eternity weighed down by leaden robes. They appear to be like knights in shining armor, the hypocrites illuminating brightly and pass for holiness, but under that show lies the terrible weight of their deceit. It's quite ironic that these people appeared as clean and spotless as a silver platter, but people were fooled by their evil deeds. Hence the ropes that weigh them down and make spiritual progress impossible for them. Everyone except Diana has identified some of them. And you're not going to believe this, but those two guys from Twister are on here. Jonas Miller and Eddie, even though Eddie was sort of like a puppet to him. Jonas, Son of a bitch. God damn it. Even when I was a kid, I hated them so much. The heroes expected more people they'd identify, but they still walked on to the seventh Bolgia. There they climbed down the broken rocks of a bridge that was destroyed in the Great Earthquake during the harrowing of Hell. They crossed the next bridge into the turf of thieves, though this wasn't their secret hideout. Thieves are held and bitten by serpents. The venom burns them alive to ash only so they can reform and suffer again. The pit was filled with monstrous reptiles. The shades were being hunted and bitten by snakes and lizards, who coil themselves about the sinners and bind their hands behind their backs. The horrors of the thieves' punishment increase gradually, just as they stole other people's substance in life. Their very identity becomes subject to theft here. The Bolgia was guarded by another centaur by the name of Calchas. Unlike the ones in the first violence ring, this one had a fire-breathing dragon on his shoulder. Gavin read once that in Greek mythology he was actually a fire-breathing monster that was slew by Hercules. Here he noticed a redhead, which is Estella Shiel, which is like a one-shot villain in the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. She was only in one episode, in the Realm of the Condor, which is the third one to be exact. And as a kid, I felt sorry for her because I thought, her father, she lost her father in the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest, due to the Inca ambushing him. But in reality, it was all a lie because, she wanted all the gold in El Dorado. I mean, I wish we could actually get some of that gold because, it would benefit our economy, but they might get suspicious, I guess. But yeah, it took me a long time to figure it out. But that wasn't even close to whom he saw next. Gavin, Jenny, Jake, and Alex recognized a male in his 30s wearing broken reflective sunglasses and everything else, yada yada yada. If you guys seen the Inside Man movie, you would know who this guy is. Dalton Russell. Dalton Russell is played by Clive Owen as the antagonist, opposing Denzel Washington, who used a prank to pay the perfect crime. God damn it, I hate that movie. And I hated Clive Owen ever since. He was good in King Arthur, but that was it. Ugh. Alex suggested that she wished it was for a gold digger or perhaps a slut. Jake made a soul-piercing stare while Diana gave her a slight smack at the back of her head. Quit joking around, Alex. We still have a few bulls left. Even I despise that terrorist Russell so damn much. She led to the eighth chasm, the lair for evil counselors. Evil advisors who use their forked tongues for counsel serving their own ends. They stand ablaze. It is here that fraudulent advisors or evil counselors move about, hidden from view inside individual flames. These are not people who gave false advice, but rather people who use their positions to advise others to engage in fraud. And there was Christoph Gavin, as well as Manfred von Karma. I'm not really into the Phoenix Wright series. It was hard to get into, but I've heard so much on hated characters lists on YouTube, especially from Green Scorpion, Quarter Guy, Innie Noben, that kind of thing. So there's Christoph. Another accursed advisor was Manfred von Karma. You can pause here. You can also pause here if you want. It's just far too long. I don't have a lot of time here. They say that Karma's a bitch, and he'd be the perfect son from her. Later they marched on to the ninth Bolgia, the Sowers of Discord. Ugh, thank goodness it's the last one. They hold their heads and innards. The chaos they caused in life cast upon them in death. The dams were being hacked by a single large demon wielding a bloody sword. Their bodies became divided as if, in life, their sins were to tear apart the earth. I should have put Sam and Nikki on here. Those are the sinners who are ready to rip up the whole fabric of society to gratify a egotism. They didn't perish from the constant onslaughts, but instead traveled back in a circle to the demon, by which time their bodies have fully regenerated. Then they are hacked to pieces all over again. The sick saw the poor souls drag their ruined bodies around the ditch with their wounds healing, only to have the demon tear them apart once more. It was to symbolize how they themselves were able to divide nations and even their own blood from their wickedness alone. The chamber was split into three categories: one for religious scheming, one for civil strife and political discord, and one for family disunion or discord between kinsmen. The first one had Princess Elise, but it was all an illusion. Gavin was just starting to lose it. It was quite unsettling how hell could cause so much psychological trauma, albeit temporary, and be so deranged to even include royals that had no point on being there. He wondered if Lucifer was playing with his mind, making the underworld distorted and act as some delusional nightmare. Jenny was there to comfort him. Even his own strength was waning on finding Ichabod. Nevertheless, they pressed on, and they have seen Gabrielle's shear, which is in Swordfish, the Matrix ripoff. Ugh, I hate that movie. And wouldn't you know it, the Capulets are there. The evil rulers of the Capulets were omnipresent in the third section. Here we are, guys. The Canner and the Violence Ring, and there you see the rulers. Ugh. I hate distractions. But those are the leaders of the Capulets here. Lastly were the vengeful scum of the earth, to which only Gavin and Diana knew. Mrs. Mott! Yes! She is in the Sowers of Discord, people! If you guys seen The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, which is on the Villains Wiki, by the way, I had no choice but to see it in my contemporary living class, but she is there. The worst for last. There's still one more Bolgia to go! The ninth one, which houses the worst and common frauds of all. Basically, it's like miscellaneous. The humidity and air pressure were intense as they descended to the ninth Bolgia. As Laura described, the falsifiers. All thoughts of pain and suffering fall upon them. Hear their wailing and be warned. The last Bolgia of the eighth circle was the home belonging to various sorts of miscellaneous liars. Chronic disease on society, they are themselves affected with different types of afflictions, such as illness, stench, thirst, filth, darkness, and screaming. Some lie prostrate, while others ran hungering through the pits, tearing other unsuspecting shades to pieces. The most notable ones were, of course, Beavis and Butthead. Of course. Team Witness, surprisingly, there were only people amongst millions that everyone knew. Team Witness gazed below them. There stood a well with bright turquoise within it. They looked to be like branches encased in ice that was unusually bright to their weary eyes. Laura stopped. This is it, guys. The last circle of hell is down there, awaiting us. Lucifer and Crane shouldn't be too far now. Let's get this everything we got, and... Before she could finish her rally, she and her allies felt as if the wind was just knocked out of them. They became powerless, and Gavin collapsed from exhaustion. They'd noticed the virtue's powers were fading. And Prudence... I can't seem to feel Prudence anymore. We're all running out of steam, and Crane is gone. And that means... She was too startled to move. The others were immobilized, feeling their endurance run out. Their vision was blurry. Their bodies were weighed by gravity as each cadet fell one by one. They had almost instantly blacked out, as quickly as a candle being blown. The next thing they knew, frigid temperature blew against their faces, pricking them up. Jenny awakened, and the rest of the group followed more groggily. They were laying closer to the well, and she looked down as she recalled seeing the entrance to the underworld's bone-chilling core. She had a glimpse of a figure about 50 feet below, into the Arctic pit. Crane! That brought everyone around. They looked over the ledge. He wasn't his normal self, so weak. in intense pain. He was surrounded by 3 demons, each taking beatings, each giving him beatings, making him kneel and beg for forgiveness for his treacherous sins. Finally, as the man was more submissive with his paralyzed vessel, one of the members of the unholy trinity lifted his chin as another dropped several pieces of seeds. Crane! What's going on? Is Ichabod down there? Or another illusion? It was Crane, and he just digested the seeds of doubt. That means he's one with Lucifer now. Oh no. We must pass through treachery and meet up with Lucifer. We may or may not save Crane now. No, I saved him from the mantle of war. I can free him again, but we mustn't linger. She refused to give up. I remembered Chief Dragado's last words. Puck was embedded. He was putting on his Battlehawk uniform. So, he said to never quit on his loyalty and to not throw away our friendship, no matter what. He knew what Ichabod was made of. As a freedom fighter and a witness, we can't stop now. He needs us. Gavin's right. We can still rescue him as long as we stay together. We've went this far. We should never turn our backs on him. Crane's been our motivation, our crutch for all of us. I shouldn't tuck tail and run. Yeah, he's shown us the way. I guess the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and ours is Crane. He did demonstrate great courage and camaraderie, not just to us, but to an entire nation. And to no question George Washington has chosen him. He protected my daughter and her future, even when it was overshadowed by the darkness, and we owe him the same. He's truly a veteran, a hero, much like the witnesses before us. We shall prevail and defeat Lucifer, and break the chains of fate he has over him. He needs us now. Let us fight on. We're coming for you. There is no turning back from here. The fate of their destiny, the world and Ichabod will soon commence. Without Wikipedia and the Inferno Wiki, I'd be forever stuck and never finish it. And here are the songs for that, albeit repetitive. So, you can pause here if you want. This is Mary. There's Beavis and Butthead and the horse. I believe the Capulets are the main cause of the conflicts. And other characters from Casino made it. So, yeah. You can pause here if you want. There's Estella Shield from Johnny Quest, much like Sir and Ezekiel from a few rings prior. There's Swordfish. There's Twister. So you can pause here if you want. Also a despised Inside Man. You can pause here if you want. Princess Elise and Sonic 06 should be on here, but I'm not sure how Sonic would fit with Sleepy Hollow. There's Christoph Gavin, Manfred Rakama. There's Professor Layton's series, Hand That Rocks the Cradle. You can pause here if you want to read those. Finally, Team Witness are on their way to rescue Ichabod. They may have lost prudence and he swallowed the seeds of doubt, but is there still a glimmer of hope? Find out next time, sleepyheads. Stay tuned for the last ring of hell.